he's putting his heart into his work. And, you know, he doesn't need all that other stuff. All he needs is, you know, his dirty hands and his scratched up boot and his heart to put into his work. And then on the other side, it's kind of supposed to be like day in, day out. And on the other side, you'll see a watch there, and it's supposed to be end of day. So everything's a little bit dirtier. His hands are dirtier, his boots are dirtier, his jeans are dirtier. And it's kind of like he's tied to time because he has deadlines, he needs to get back to family. But then the watch is broken because he gets lost in his work because he's, you know, loves what he does. So that's kind of the sum of that piece in particular. And there's a couple other ones also on that wall. Yeah.
So that's interesting that you put them in. They almost look like tattoos, but they're symbols of the people that you're doing the portraits of.
Yes, absolutely. And then this is a leathersmith. He's using a tool to carve out designs into the leather. And I just love the simplicity of just kind of focusing on the everyday, you know, and kind of celebrating, I think, the process of fine craftsmanship, because I feel like so often as a society, we're so focused on the end result of a product, and we're not so much focusing on, you know, the hard work, and I feel like the art that goes into making these beautiful things. So, and then there's one last piece. There's one up top, I think, and that is, it might be hard to kind of capture, but that's a milling machine. And just again, another opportunity to kind of capture a part of the craftsman day in, day out. There was a lot of intricacies in this particular piece, particularly the machine log, which has, you know, incredible detail as far as like the text goes, and has a chart on there, and then just has a lot of grit in all of the pieces of the actual machine itself. So was a super exciting piece to do because it just kind of like came to life. And that's what I love about charcoal. It's always kind of, I hit a point where I'm like, oh gosh, I feel like I'm screwing it up. But then all of a sudden it just pops off the page. And so it's really exciting when it gets to that point. So yeah, but thank you for, you know, having me in the show. This is my first time being in a BG show. And so I really appreciate it. There's some incredible work to be alongside here.
Our pleasure. Great to have you in.
Thank you.
I'm gonna just cycle around a little more again.
We also have a time restraint. Vion needs to head out early. So if she could present next, that'd be awesome.
Okay, great.
Nice to see you, Steph. Yeah, I have the purple in the purple section. Okay, I'm highlighted. Okay, so these are purple paintings. So I wanted to do paintings that are actually kind of symbolic of what I've been doing throughout COVID. And these are new paintings that I did for the show, for the Spectrum 8 show. So this one's called Seamless Lavender. And there is another one called Lavender, completely abstract. And then there's another one called Lavender Allegory. And then another one called Lavender in the City. So I wanted to, so during COVID, I've kind of started doing gardening, and I've been planting lavender. And I've noticed that lavender plant is like really, for me, very, very therapeutic, very resilient, and beautiful. Smells great. So I found it to be very therapeutic throughout this time. You know, less stress. So it had benefited me so much throughout the COVID time. the enjoyment of planting it, but also seeing it grow, being it resilient. And then we also have lavender fields nearby. So we go there to check out the lavender. And I've always loved lavender ever since I was a child. So it's one of my favorite plants and flowers. So I said, I like the color also because it's not very strong, but it's also very effective. So I wanted to work with the purple hues. And kind of bring forth my love. So in a sense, the color lavender is more symbolic for my love of this plant. And then also I wanted to also bring in something a little bit different. So I still stayed with my abstraction, but I also wanted to bring in a city feel. So abstracted cityscapes in this sense, okay? So as abstracted cityscapes, because they allude to my love for the city, for buildings, but also for architecture. I love architecture so much. So I wanted to present something that I love. So the combination of something that is symbolic, the color lavender or the color purple hues, and also the love for the city. And in a painterly way, which is kind of like my identity. I'm a painter and I do things in a painterly way. But again, I wanted to push the envelope a little bit more, to do something that I find that I was gravitating towards throughout this time. So that's how the color lavender came forth, but also the cityscapes, in a way, again, through my signature abstraction, but presenting more the city rather than, say, a landscape. So kind of like my love for architecture, trying to bring that forth to the audience. But that's pretty much. And then there's a painting up, if you go all the way up with the camera on, all the way up. I think it's the one all the way on top. Yeah, this one. So this one's much more abstracted, but again, it's kind of loosely based on a city, like a city street, the action, the flow, the lines, but in a much more abstracted way. So anyone has any questions or comments, observations?
The cities based on anywhere in particular? Are they each of them particular cities, or?
What do you think? Which question? Audience,
It's like the Empire State Building to me in that little one.
Yep. Yes, it's based on New York City, which I've been to many times, and I just love New York City and love just the architecture and just the beauty and the strength of the buildings. But it could also be somewhere else. So I didn't want to make it so obvious, but I do think that the Empire State Building does come forth, and but yeah, kind of an ode to my love to architecture, but also to the city. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you. A wonderful show. Thank you for having me, and congratulations to everybody. Beautiful show with wonderful colors.
Thank you. All right, great. So I'm now going to go just kind of dive in and out, and if there's anyone from the chat, you could let me know, Stefania or Monica, that has said that they want to talk. Otherwise, just if you're an artist in the show and you see your work, just unmute and say hello.
Yes, Janet, go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Janet Gervers. I have something on the blue wall. It's toward the bottom, right there. Yeah, that's one of my pieces. First, I just want to say hi to my sisters, Susan, Linda, and Diane. 2 out of the 3 of them are on the East Coast. So thanks for being here tonight. Thanks to my hubby, Trig, who's right behind me. So this one's called Crest, and my style tends to be waves of textury paint, and I love just things that are inspired by the ocean and really just positive waves of color. So this is one of my pieces in the show. Wow. Cool. Thank you. There's also one on the purple wall. It's more toward the top. It looks like a big swirl. It's about the same size painting. I think yeah, there we go. So that's the second one that's in the show. And this is one that I just really painted very spontaneously. And I like doing spontaneous. Well, I'll think of like colors and things that I want to paint with. This one was one that's it just happened. And I really do like to go with the flow when I'm painting here. So I just thought I'd take a pause for a second and see if anyone has any questions or comments before we go on to the third one. Okay, well, so there's a third one. It's on the red wall. It's the one with the corks on it toward the top. There we go, that little one. Okay, so some of the paintings that I've done in recent years have the addition of corks. And as you might notice, we like wine over here, and found a really good way to repurpose, at least I think it's way to repurpose the corks that are used and just bring them into my paintings and make them more of a 3D kind of experience. And it's fun too. So
I collaborated with helping drink the wine to supply the corks.
yeah, it's a group effort on on that part. So yeah, grateful to be in this show. So thanks. Yeah, teamwork. So yeah, if anybody has a question or comment, feel free.
How do you do that?
Yeah, just whoever said, how do you do that? All you do
Yes.
is unmute yourself and then just ask the question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You have a question for Janet? Okay. Debbie, you're online, right?
I am. Hi, thank you so much for including me in the show. I'm a first timer too with you, so I'm really excited to be here. So this is my piece, Oscar. He's made out of bronze and hand painted in oil. So I think it sort of just falls under the umbrella of, self-expression, that why I do the things that I do is I want to engage the person, the viewer who's looking at it, and kind of have a little fun. My daughter always tells me, if a 12-year-old finds it funny, so will my mom, but that's pretty accurate. I like to kind of tease and laugh and just have fun and add humor to my art when I can. Even including in the color choices that I use on this, I wanted to make him kind of like a weird little guy. It just expresses a lot of human vulnerabilities. And I guess, you're pretty vulnerable if you're standing there with an erection. So, the things that, and I'm not above a good dick joke. So that's kind of it.
Debbie, I have a question. So
Sure.
when you're formulating your sculptures, do you do sketches first? How do you come up with these images, or do you just start molding stuff and it becomes what it is?
I just start doing it. I don't really like to do anything that smells like work, and I don't like to do anything that like I'm supposed to do it. So that's just kind of how I work. It kind of like kills the creativity for me in a way. It sort of feels like, when you're in school and your teacher, insists that you do an outline before you write your creative story. It's like you killed the damn thing, just let me do it, don't beat it to death. But that's my personal style. I'm a kind of impulsive and messy artist. I'm not someone who's meticulous with things, and I don't, I resist. I resist being, told that I have to measure and do all that stuff. I don't measure when I cook. I don't measure when I make art. I just, that's kind of my style. I'm not, saying it's the right way for everybody to do it, but that's where
Debbie,
I
I have,
land.
I have a,
The opposite,
a question
so
or
I-
comment for you. Oops, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, well, I'm the opposite, so I admire that about you.
Oh, I'm glad somebody does. Okay. Did someone else have a question?
Yeah, reminds me of a gargoyle. Were you thinking of that, Deb?
No, I wasn't thinking of a gargoyle. I just like, I mean, like all artists, you know, we like looking at human faces, right? And
Mhm.
it evokes a lot of emotions from us. And I think, you know, being older, um, you know, this figure, kind of an older, you know, kind of saggy guy, but he's still like sweet and lovable. It's just kind of the aspects of humanity that, you know, we see around us all the time, just sort of poking gentle fun at it. I mean, this is where we're
Yeah.
all going to end up, right? Older and saggier. So it's just
Nice.
I have a question. What's the material you use?
bronze. It's bronze.
Oh, really? What
Yeah.
what kind of paint do you use on it?
Oil paint.
Really? And
So it takes a long time to paint them because I have to do it in layers. If you use oil paint when you work, you have to let it dry in between. Otherwise, you just get a muddy mess. So each layer, and then you have to wait, you know, 4 or 5 days in between and do the next layer. That's about as much self-discipline as I can as I can muster.
is that a limited edition you made? You made a few of them and different
Yeah,
colors?
I made a few of them. Yeah, and actually, I sold a few of them. So I was kind of hoping something good would happen here. We'll see.
Wow, that's great. Okay, and you started with clay then?
Right. So I sculpt them out of clay, make a mold, and then cast them in bronze and then paint. And then, you know, the bases are made of found objects. I don't know if you can show the base on that one at all. But so all the bases are a little bit different.
Oh, wow.
I try to make the base, you know, work as a whole with the piece. So the base is kind of like a weird little base that goes with this weird little guy.
So oil paint works on this. That's amazing.
It does.
Okay. Well, that's
Thank
terrific.
you. Thank you for having me.
Fun.
My pleasure. That's great.
I know Tim wanted to go next.
Tim, remind me of your last name, Tim. Or do you just have your first name on the chat?
Unmute yourself, please.
Oh, it got, there it is. It's unmuted now. Tim Truby.
Okay.
And I guess you could probably start with the one right at the entrance there, the fording the stream. There it is. So I am a landscape photographer. What I do is spend several weeks going someplace in the US or anywhere in the world, and I take pictures of iconic locations. This is the Narrows, which is in Zion National Park. I was intrigued by this just because it's such a mythic location. You've got the stream that you're fording through here, and you have cliffs that go up forever practically. My work, if you look at it closely, I'm not sure how well you can tell. Yeah, I guess you can tell pretty well. It's very painterly in my approach, much more than most landscape photographers. Typically, the whole nature of the camera is it flattens everything. And I want things to look pretty much the way my eye sees things. So you get into Lightroom or whatever, and you add some texture to the rocks and glow. You bring out the glow that's there in the cavern, and you know, just the whole sense of it. If it's not flat anymore, then it allows the viewer, I think, to go more into it and to see what's happening there, and just to see that this is a whole space that they can inhabit, which is kind of the opposite of what I think photography tends to do. And then if you go down a little bit more, you can see in the distance, you have this people. Actually, there's a whole family there that are reaching this point, heading home, and about to ford this stream. And in a way, it's very much like the old ancient Chinese art, the landscapes, where you have some monk somewhere who's almost lost in the mountains, and you have this gigantic real estate, and you have people that are a part of it, and that's kind of the experience that I'm going for, is just something where we're all part of something which is bigger, and having a more painterly approach allows me to kind of give more of that experience. If you want, you could go over further down the yellow-orange wall, and I have a couple others there that are, that's a good one, sure. This is Thor's Well. It's in Oregon. It's a totally intriguing place. I shoot a lot of tidal pools because I live in the South Bay here, and but this one is unusual because essentially at high tide you have this massive amount of water coming in over these tidal pool areas, and it gets sucked down into this basically a big hole 8 feet wide, and it's about 20 feet deep, and then it goes out into the ocean again. It's volcanic in origin. I did a little bit of a trick here in terms of a little slower shutter speed, so that you could get a sense of the power of the water flowing down here, and just how intense it is. It's actually quite dangerous if you're not careful, because it's high tide, and sometimes the water can get quite intense if you're not looking at it when it comes in. And so again, there's just a sense of, because it's more painterly, you have a sense of depth happening, but also because it's a high resolution photograph, it's immensely detailed. So it feels quite truthful in its own way, but it's also doing something else. I think something that catches the imagination and hopefully captures almost the sense of menace that this has, if you see it on the wall. Maybe one more, which is just off to the right there, the Mesa Arch. There it is. This is another landscape location. This is in Canyonlands, and it's this massive, massive arch that is right on the edge of a 1,000-foot precipice. And at sunrise, you have the sun from the La Salle Mountains blasts in and lightens up everything. And the bounce from that light on the lower canyon makes the top of the arch glow. So you have 20, 30 photographers who all woke up at 4 a.m. to try to get here, get a spot, put up their tripod, and wait for this glow. And in 7 or 8 minutes, it's gone. A little bit of a photography trick here. The nature of shooting at the sun, it's always problematic. It's always going to be impossible because it blows everything out. So I hid the sun, the core of the sun, behind this arch here.
Hello and happy birthday, girl.
Happy birthday. Anyway, that's Mesa Arch there, and again, trying to get a sense of the space of the place so that people, when they look at it, they feel like they can kind of explore this really magical landscape here, and keep it on their wall if they want, and have it whenever they want to go back to it. So those are 3 of mine from the show. I did want to thank Om and BG Gallery for letting me be part of it. It's a fabulous show, and I totally loved it.
Excellent. Our pleasure.
Yes.
That's a great insight into your work. Thank you very much.
Tim, I'm wondering how much of your work is post-production on the computer and how much is purely which was there on the spot with your camera?
Well, that's a key question. And of course, anybody who does landscape photography professionally does a fair amount of post work because you shoot raw, and which means it's more like a negative that you have to pull out the colors, you have to pull out the contrast because it's even flatter than a normal JPEG. I tend to push it further in that direction, doing a lot more work in Lightroom because, you know, the nature of the beast is you've got the flatness that the camera has, but I want to layer in the different elements in it the way a painter would do it, where you start with maybe a base set of colors and then you pull out different elements. So that's kind of what I'm doing in the photograph. I don't replace the image, the pixels, but I enhance, add contrast here or sharpness or something which will define the different elements and show you just kind of how the light is hitting them and what the textures of that are, because you lose most of that just by the nature of the mechanical quality of the camera. So yeah, that's a good question.
Your work is really beautiful. Also, how much of it is later cropping?
I'm pretty good at cropping just exactly what I want at this point. I've done it a long time. I do I crop pretty tightly because obviously you want to get the very core of it. And that is something that I probably get complimented about more than anything, I guess, is that I frame it pretty well, I think.
Are these editions?
Yes, this is an edition of 10. And I've already sold one of these in 12 by 18. I was doing a show at Crafted in San Pedro, and I had it's a little unusual with a lot of landscapes. Typically, you get stuff, people want to buy stuff which is in their locale, and this is not. But people love the ocean, and it definitely captures the ocean feeling, I think.
Excellent.
Nice work, very nice work.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay, great. Mike Goldberg is your neighbor here, and he's on. So, Mike, come on down. Tell us about this piece.
Thanks, Om. Hope you're doing well. This is called The Pacing Man, and it's based on a character I knew. I used to be a mental health counselor in a Locke psychiatric ward, so I took many notes and wrote many stories about the patients there. And this was a character who used to pace a lot. And so what I do is I paint on wood using oil bars, and I use my hands to work the paint into the grains of the wood. I just, I find scraps of wood, and then whatever the size is, I try to fit the portrait or the full body character into that frame. Yeah, and I just use a single color. I use ochres. I'm in that kind of yellow ochre, sienna color range. So yeah, very simple painting. But I base it on specific characters that I've come across in life, whether it was in that psychiatric hospital. And I lived in New York for a long time, so you meet a lot of interesting folks there, and just made a series of portraits. So this is a very small, simple one. It's actually kind of a study for a larger one.
How large will the large one be?
Well, there's a whole installation component to it. So I take these wooden portraits and I place them in a plexiglass container and I fill it with seawater. And over time, the portrait, the painting on wood will dissolve into pulp. So I want to make them huge, like 16 feet high, make them outdoor public sculptures. And attached to each side is a scent and a sound. So there's a little iPod that has kind of the soundtrack to this person's life. And then there's a scent that is representative of this person, whether it's leather or tobacco or lavender. It depends on that particular person. But as the physical piece dissolves, disintegrates, you're left with the scent and the sound, because those are the triggers that remind you of this person. So it's about memory and how memories fade and how you're triggered by certain scents and sounds to bring that person back to life.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Here's some cool ones in the background in your studio there too.
Yeah, working on that one there. Thank you.
My pleasure. So we got Carl Chubbs on the line, I believe.
Hi,
so, hey.
Thank you for showing these. This one's mine. It's a photograph. Mine are usually easy to find because they're usually one of the few photographs in the show. So I'm glad to have this one here. And I hope you can see the photograph without it being distorted by the reflection, as Om is taking the video of it. Hi, Om. I see you right there. And unlike Tim's, I'm not out there shooting things with 27 people behind me as a landscape photographer, and everyone gets the same shot. And Tim, you've done a beautiful job in bringing it to life and making it your own, and I really appreciate that. That's one of the reasons that I stay away from landscapes, partly because that doesn't draw me so much, and I'm more attracted to the unusual or a unique perspective that other people just don't see, but catch my eye as I go out in the world, and also present it in a unique kind of way. Like this one, this is called Red Hot Sunset, and it's because of all the red and the heat of the red, and it's sunset because this is on Sunset Boulevard, or it was on Sunset Boulevard. And part of what I like about it is the ephemerality of it, because that place isn't there anymore. Whoop, and BG just went away too. Don't know what happened. There we go. That place isn't there anymore. Now it's a different place. This was taken from the inside of the space looking out, and I also liked it because of the way it kind of presented an abstract image of what's really going on here. And I love it when people aren't really sure of what they're looking at, but they like it anyhow. And I love when that happens. So if anyone has any questions about this, happy to answer. I also have another one in the black and white section. Down towards the bottom, I think it's just below Amy's, if I'm remembering correctly. The one with to your left, and a little bit more to your left, and down, and down. There you go. There you go. And this is one of the things that caught my eye with this one is I do take some things of nature. Now it's not so much. I am more likely to be finding other things, but one of the things that caught me about taking this one is I love the delicacy of it. Beautiful monarch with beautiful colors, but here it was more the shapes and the delicacy that I was after, rather than the color that would kind of take it away from that delicacy. both of the flower and of the butterfly itself. Someone's asking, is it printed on watercolor paper? No, I believe it's printed on luster paper. And this is small here, but it also could be blown up to much larger sizes. I just haven't had the occasion to do that. But one of the nice things with photography is you can do it at many different sizes. So this could be, you know, big on someone's wall, or really small here, like a little piece that someone treasures for its smallness. Thank you, Debbie. By the way, I love your work too. Sorry we didn't get to say hi there. And I don't know if I had a third one that I don't know if you were able to find space for it or not. It was in the green section. There we are. Good. I'm glad you found the space for it. And here's another one along the lines of the nature. And again, it was the colors of it. And with this one and with the butterfly, people often comment about both of these, that they're very painterly. They look like some kind of painting. And I always laugh at that. I really value and appreciate it, but I always laugh at how many photographs are appreciated because of how they look like a painting. And the flip side is how many paintings are appreciated because of how they look like a photograph. I always find that funny. And this is one that is nature, but it's both nature and not nature, because this was out at the Getty, at the old Getty. And they have beautiful flowers in their gardens. And I was just there to see what I could see. I had no idea what I'd find. I didn't know that it would be something of a particular piece, but this is what I saw as I was just walking around the grounds and catching what my eye saw. And that's what my photography really centers on, is the beautiful and interesting things that I see around me as I go out in the world. So I'm glad that you were able to bring this into the live gallery show. And for those of you who are looking at the online gallery, I believe I've got 2 in that as well. So you get to see some more. Those were too big for the gallery space, but I hope you'll go exploring into the online show as well. And thanks so much for showing these, Home.
My pleasure. Yeah, that's at bgartgalleries.com, and there's links that'll take you to each of the color sections there. FP is one of your neighbors on the green wall here, and FP is online. So
thank you, Om. This is a fabulous show. Om, you are such an artist. Just the whole installation is just, you know, it's like a performance installation art piece. It's each year you outdo yourself. It was exquisite. It's so pleasant. Yes, I noticed that the green section, when it wasn't as large as some of the other sections this year, which was kind of interesting. This little piece is one of my gems. I'm eco-centric. I paint and I sculpt with recycled materials, and my still life is gems as abstract geometrics. My grandfather was a diamond cutter. I like them, the reflections and the graphics. So this one is called Makara. And I name all my pieces after fire gods. Makara is a Hindi god of fire, and it's called Makara Princess Cut Acid Citrine. That's the name of the stone. And I did this, it almost glows in the dark, this actual stone, because at this point, I purchased neon paints and interference paints that change colors. The greens will change a little bit to reds, and also some metallic paints. So I experimented with that. It's not really a perfect rectangle. It's a little bit asymmetrical because the princess cut that I was looking at had a little bit of an asymmetrical look because of the angle that the photograph was taken up from. I usually look at photographs of gems. I also hung it at a little bit of an angle. So at the opening, I put it back to my angle, but it looked like a mistake. So I like what Ohm did with using right angles and just to hang it more of as a square.
SP, I have a question. You work
Yes.
a lot with the cut and the color of the gem, and I wonder, another big thing about diamonds or gemstones is a possible flaw in it. And some people even find that endearing. I wonder if that figures into your study of the gemstone or into your art.
Yes, that's called inclusions. And a citrine is going to have a lot of inclusions like an emerald or a ruby. They're not even really very transparent compared to diamonds, which rarely have inclusions. And that's how you judge a value of a stone, is by the 4 C's. And one is the clarity, and that is if it has inclusions or not. And the second is the carats, and that tells you the weight of it. The color, depending on what the stone is, if it's a diamond, it's the clearest as possible. Or in the most rare diamonds are blue because they're carbon, but they have a little chromium in there. So that Hope diamond is a blue diamond that is very, very rare. And then there's another one, the cut. If the cut is successful, if it's successful, it casts back a lot of light to you, so it looks really brilliant. And it doesn't suck, like if you take a stone out of the ground, it's like a teardrop, it sucks light in, it doesn't really do anything. You have to cut it, and it's engineering, and that gives you the brilliance. And the little rainbows are called fire prisms. And then the outside surface, if it's finished off correctly, that's called luster. I have one more gem. It's in the when I looked at the original photographs that you sent us, the panorama shots, I thought, oh, you couldn't fit in my, it's more of a monochromatic gem, and it's on a plate. And I found that plate at the Goodwill, and it's sort of a medium beige gray, and it's very easy to paint gems on a medium tone, like a medium gray, because you can paint this hot whites. Usually have to be an oil paint to get that super opaque, and black. And so the medium tone that's you see through to the recycled thing is gray. So it was really easy to paint this little plate right here. And it's round, and that one is a brilliant cut. And that one is named a coincidence. This one's also a Hindi fire god named Agni. It's called Agni Brilliant Cut Diamond. It's acrylic and oil on porcelain. It's 8 inches. The brilliant cut that's the famous one that, the diamonds are forever. It has 58 facets. It was engineered by Tolkowski in 1918. He was Polish, but he was working in London. And that gives you the most brilliance, the most fire of any other cuts. The original cuts didn't have as many facets. They were called miners' cuts, and they're named after the mines in India, because those are the ancient mines. The first stones were mined in India, and that cut is called miners. After that, after India. Oh, these are my Indian gods too.
Great. Thank you.
You can see there the brilliance, which is the white, and then you can see the fire, which is the little rainbows in there. Thanks for listening, everybody.
My pleasure.
Beautiful
Learning
show.
things
Beautiful
I
show.
didn't know before about diamonds. Alan, I saw you were on there. Let's head to your piece here. Are you available?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, this is called Doheny Sphinx, and it was shot at the original Doheny Mansion, not the one in Beverly Hills, but the parents of that Doheny. And this is actually quite small, but I tried to make it large by shooting at a low angle. And it's kind of from that era when Egyptian art became famous, when there were some discoveries and tomb explorations in Egypt at the time. And I kind of stole a look of kind of a wood block with the way it looks. If you and that's sort of what I was going for. A lot of processing here to get that look to it. There was also some a nice Victorian behind in the background. The house is at Mount St. Mary's in downtown Los Angeles, and it's near USC. And all the buildings are either Victorian buildings or craftsman houses. So it's a very beautiful campus. I don't think too many people know about it, but it's worth just wandering around. And you can kind of peek into this building, which was the mansion itself. And the furnishing is still inside the building, but you kind of have to look at it through the windows. But it's a fascinating place. I love the history of Los Angeles. So this was interesting to me. I say this is the Sphinx is actually quite small. It's only, I don't know, maybe a couple feet tall, I would say. And there's one on each side of a staircase, set of stairs that goes up to the mansion itself. So if there's any questions,
That's great. It's
Well, thank
very
you.
LA.
Thanks for
The,
being in
the
the show.
crossover of different time periods and culture. Very LA.
Yeah. Anyhow,
A brief question.
huh?
Was this photographed with film? It looks a little
No,
grainy
it
or-
actually was photographed with an iPhone. I was down there. I didn't have my Nikon with me, so I shot it with an iPhone. I shot a bunch of things, and not even the newest iPhone, but I can get pretty good results from it.
I have a question. Is his estate, is that the one that's, there's like an enclave of a lot of historical homes on Adams Boulevard?
It's around that area. It's actually now
Okay.
part of Mount St. Mary's College.
Okay, thank you.
There's
Yeah, that's
one,
really
there's
neat.
one toward Westwood too. This is the one downtown near
Okay.
USC. It's worth going down there to see because, like I say, all the houses are either Victorian or craftsman, and they're now all classrooms or schools or administrative buildings or whatever. But it's a beautiful place.
Gorgeous
Thanks,
photo.
Alan. Kathy, I saw you were on. I've got your bear here, and then we can head over to your other ones if you're available to talk about the bear.
Yep, I'm here.
Cool.
Yeah, so this one's called The Guardian. It's a reference to for a lot of Native American tribes, the bear is considered a guardian in the West. And in this piece, basically, you have actually two images of, bears. So it's kind of looking two different directions at the same time. This one's, pencil. This one was a little trickier than a lot of my other pencil pieces I've done because I had to figure out how to blend the texture of the fur for both bears at the same time. It's a lot of layers.
Cool.
And then,
All
yeah,
right,
and then
I'll
yeah, you mentioned
no.
in the blue section.
Yeah, I'll just kind of fly over there.
Okay, so actually both of these two pieces didn't exactly intend this to happen, but they kind of have similar themes. So you have obviously the one with the horse and the eagle. That one's called Live Freely, and the other one with the the wolf inside the wolf is basically, it's called the Tranquility Within. So with the Tranquility Within, it's kind of basically the idea is, obviously sometimes we have to be like following the pack, but sometimes we have to be kind of on our own as well. And basically we want to kind of find that peace within ourselves, be willing to, stand up for ourselves, but also still be nice and kind to other people. And then the one with the horse, same, like I said, similar theme. Again, live freely. So it's basically the blue actually represents, confidence and wisdom. So that's why I chose like the turquoise kind of blue theme for even the symbols on the horse. So basically it's same thing, kind of be willing to step forward with confidence. The eagles representing the ancestors, because for a fair amount of Native American tribes, believe that your ancestors become, birds like eagles. And basically that's, the ancestors there behind him, so you can step forward with confidence. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I've had a few questions about the symbols on the horse, but if anybody has any questions. And also I should mention, these are, you can call them mixed media. They're acrylic paintings, but I have texture mixed in. So I have a combination of just paint, and then there's a textured area. These are, it's like a gel I use. So I put it on there and I essentially carve it into the shape I want.
Great.
Thank you. This is actually my favorite Spectrum show I've been in so far. This one looks the best one.
Oh, cool. All right. I saw Barbara earlier. You still here, Barbara?
I'm here. Hi.
Good. Hey.
Thanks for showing my work. I have 4 paintings in the show. They're all from a series that I call the Luminosity series. What's different about this group than other works in the series is I'm getting into showing more depth in my work. And I'm also using primarily shades of one color. This painting actually has more of a green at the end, which is the only one like that. In the others, I've been using one color. And so I'm taking one color and going from light to dark, or dark to light. My work always has dot patterns included in it. And what makes this work a little more unusual for me is I've separated the dot patterns from the geometric squares. I had been doing a lot of things with breaking down the square with dot patterns. And here I'm either putting them as the focal point of the light or the dark in the work. Where I was really happy with these works is the depth that I've created. Many people think when they see like an image online of this work, they think that it actually is a multi-level piece, a 3D piece. So to achieve that, I was really, really happy with it. So I have the purple one, the aqua one, blue one, and a yellow to orange one in the show. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you ever hang your pieces, say as diptych or triptychs? Because I would imagine that they would look great together as a whole, a complete.
Yeah, it's just through circumstance, these works are two different sizes, but very often I will hang works in a show in a whole row, all the same size. I've never actually painted them like as a diptych on let's say 2 canvases that fit together. I've never quite done that, but I've hung them all in a row when they're all the same size.
Yeah, I would imagine it's very impactful.
Yes,
It would be really cool to see them hung like that. Thank
Barbara,
you.
I'm wondering if you're familiar with Itten's color studies.
Oh, yes, I am. Sure I am. Yeah, in fact, the work preceding this was a little more color theory and putting different colors next to each other, where this work is different in the sense that it's a range of one color.
Yeah, I went to school for graphic design, and not only did we learn about that, we had to paint those in designer's gouache, which if anybody's painted with that, that's pretty tricky to paint.
Yeah,
Really? I hate it.
You hate it? Really? Oh, I love gouache.
But
I
your
like the
paintings are
opaqueness.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Great.
All right, thanks, Paul.
Linda, my pleasure. Linda Smith. I heard you were on a little earlier.
Hi there, how are you?
Good.
Well, it's great to see everybody, friends and family on here. It's wonderful. So anyway, I'm happy to be part of this wonderful, beautiful show. It's fabulous. And of course, I've been addicted to cats, and I've done a bunch of dogs and dogs, but lately it's the cat world. And I did this last year, I believe, and with I know if it's technical, but it's like a high fire clay, and then I added a base to it, so that was good. I always was attracted to cats, even like the Egyptians love cats and they worship them, and since I got one, he's like my little muse. So here I am, and so that's fun. And then I have a little dog. I did a bunch of dog commissions, and I did an extra one. This is like a man dog. It looks a little like a person, so I did a second one. And I enjoy black and white too. It's very fun to work with. It's easy. It's I like the graphic quality. Actually, that's because I'm basically a painter who likes to, and I love drawing. To me, when I get to the paint, I hand build, and that's can be sometimes tedious, but you have to do it. But the fun is when you can start painting on it. And it's a real joy. So, and I also paint, but I've been really focusing on the clay. So here we are. I'm so happy to be part of this lovely show.
Great.
Yeah, it's great. That's, by the way, it's a porcelain. I use different clays. This is a mid-fire. I don't know if it's too technical for people, but it's a mid-fire porcelain. So. With underglaze and glaze. And the other one was a high fire, just a glaze. So I go in and out of dogs, cats, and heads and figures. It's been a theme, and pattern. I love pattern. I love pattern artists. So there's so much pattern in this show. It's so lovely. So it's great.
Excellent. Thanks, Linda.
Sure.
Any questions for Linda? Okay. Chalta, I saw you're on. I'll go to your
Hey, this is Chalda from Texas. one of these days I would love to make it to one of these shows in person. This piece is called Recess, and it's about free time, play, happiness, and it's part of a series that I call Sea Jewels. I got the idea for this series of artworks when I was on vacation in the Caribbean, and people would snorkel or swim, and I noticed that they just always emerged happier than they went in. And my art's always been optimistic, and so I was wondering how to start incorporating this idea in my art. I started doing some research, and the fish is very important in a lot of cultural and religious traditions. In Buddhism, a fish symbolizes happiness. In Christianity, it symbolizes faith. So I started this series of artworks. Thank you, Estefania, called Sea Jewels. And this one is called Recess. It's an edition of 9. It's a digital painting. So after each print, I rework the file just a little bit. So of the 9, each one will be a little different. It'll be a similar composition and palette, but it'll differ in the details. One of the things I love about the digital medium is you can get all different kinds of effects. Like in the middle, you see kind of puddled watercolor, and then there's also some ink and paint bucket, all different media. You can combine them together in the digital medium, which wouldn't work at all if these were actual watercolors and ink and different paint buckets. Another thing I really like about this medium is the ability to work in great detail. So you can see, like in the tail, you can really get lost in all the little nuances. I get this effect that you see, this kind of shimmering, dappled effect by building up several layers. I think this painting had 12 layers. And when you work digitally, you can keep all the layers active at the same time. They're transparent, but you can go underneath and work on the lower layer, the upper layer, a middle layer, which you can't really do with, say, oil paints, where you have to let one layer dry and you can paint over it, but you can't alter it anymore. So this is the digital medium gives me a really different kind of space to work in. And I have it mounted on museum grade acrylic. Thank you, SB. Which I think gives it another little sense of dimension. And it's UV screened, so it can be, of course, the pigments themselves are light fast, so it can be hung near a window or something. People shouldn't worry about that. And then I have another piece in the reds, a small piece. It's up there. You keep missing it. Up, right. Okay, you found it. This piece is a small piece, 5 by 7, and again you can see the different virtual media. Like you see in the upper left, you see impasto, where there's some ink, some paint buckets, some watercolor, and the effect I was looking for, if you float face down, maybe with a snorkeling mask, the things you see, the fish and the other things you see, kind of disappear in spots and come in and out of focus. And I feel this effect is really relaxing. to people. And like I say, when I would see them emerge, they were always uplifted and happy. A lot of people really like these small ones. I have one collector who gave away her aquarium and replaced it with a bunch of these small paintings of fish, and they don't need to be fed, and they make her happier than the live fish did. So these are both digital paintings. I do it with freehand tablet drawing and certain digital effects. And there's no photography. Some people think these are kind of altered photographs. Thank you, SB.
Great. Thank you, Shalda. Any questions for Shalda?
I have a question. Do you ever draw or paint over, say, a completed piece, just with a physical pastels or paints?
No, I haven't done that. For a lot of my career, I did work in natural media, oils, acrylics, and etching, aqua tint, ceramics. In some of these media, I did do what you're saying. There would be a painting that either because I wasn't happy with or because I thought would make a good base layer, I did overpaint. But I don't print digitally on top of natural media artwork. Some artists get really interesting effects doing that, but it's not something I do.
Thank you. They're beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I was interested in what Carl said about size, because being a digital artist, sometimes I'm asked to print something at a different size from what I had intended. A couple of times I've done that, but I have a size in mind. Maybe all the photographers or other digital artists have this question too, but I always have a size where I feel like the image looks the best, and don't really like to print it, even though it's physically possible. I don't like to print it at a different size from what I consider its ideal.
Thank you. Mimi, that's you.
Hi everyone. It's great to see everybody, and I'm just, in awe of the show itself and the way it was hung, and it's just really inspiring. It's really great. So, and I'm excited to be in the show. And my piece was inspiration from an experience I had last year during the CZU lightning fire that was encroaching upon the town that I live in. And I was I was under evacuation warning, which means that you have to get all your valuables and all of your paperwork and family heirlooms and together next to the front door in case you got a knock on your door saying you had to vacate. So it was pretty scary. I live by the ocean, so this piece, it's not a representational piece. It's more of a feeling of what I felt and remembered. And there was a lot of ash and brown smoke. And it was, this is kind of the sunset and the way the sky looked around the ocean. So it's mainly a feeling of the incident more rather than a depiction, actual depiction of it. So, and it's oil on canvas and it's titled Ignited. Any questions?
People are just taking it in.
I hope that's a good thing.
Do you have some artistic influences? Artists from
Yeah, I mean, I always gravitate towards an expressionist, point of view. I'm an abstract and expressionist, and I like Rothko, and I try to create a depth within my pieces, and sort of like Barbara a little bit. Like there's, something beyond just, the surrounding colors, maybe something through. So that's my goal. And I love
I like
color.
the piece behind you too.
Oh, thanks. This is an older piece and it's in my personal collection.
If Turner was alive today, he might be doing.
Oh, thanks. Wow. That's quite a compliment. But a lot of people have said that about my work, that it's reminiscent of Turner. So thank you.
Thank you. Gonna pop up to your neighbor here, Gumbelly. I saw Gumbelly on here.
Hello, hi.
Hi.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
Thanks for having me in the show.
Pleasure.
So
Now,
yes,
where are you joining us from?
right now I'm live from Italy, Milan, Italy. So yes, quite how you say late right now here, but it's a pleasure joining you.
Thank you.
So this,
Yeah, go for it.
yeah, so this piece is part of new tests I'm doing on this ongoing series called Breaking in Space, where the drawings are the main thing. So these new experiments are just tests of putting these drawings into new media. So as you see, this is a small resin cast. And so with these new works, I'm trying to incorporate these drawings that are all mostly geometrical, so into new mediums, and in this case is resin cast. So all these drawings are sort of, as I said, the geometrical abstract. Every time I do these drawings, you can see another one here. They are very random in the sense that whatever comes out, it's just following like some certain patterns that I'm using, a way of putting these old shapes and forms one next to each other. So I feel like what's important here is the optical effect that's coming out, rather than like the subject. So yeah, this is this one is called imperfect symmetry, which is weird because I took one of these drawings and mirror it, but what's but it's the color that it's defining this symmetry as imperfect.
So you're saying the drawing is symmetrical, but the color makes it asymmetrical.
Exactly, yeah. So another thing I could say about these drawings is that the patterns that I'm like kind of creating are like, I call them as like sub layers of reality. Like whatever comes out of these drawings is like another way of seeing reality, in the sense of it could be like going in the microscopical, you know, how would you say, like a microscopical, you know.
Yeah, and having them on the glass is like a slide that you put on the microscope, is in a way. So it works with that as well.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and there's another one in the blue section, which is a painted piece. Is an oil on canvas. Is a small one. Yeah, on the left. No, okay. On your right, these.
Oh yeah.
The white in the center. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you can see, this is another example of this Breaking in Space series, where, as you can see, is the technique of putting these shapes together in a kind of random way. Like this is called the owl, because after the drawing was finished, I was kind of looking into it and see what I could see in the picture, and for me, in this painting it was an owl. As you see, like the yellow parts can define the eyes and the I don't know what to say in English, but I would say the mouth of the owl.
Beak.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, this is an oil on canvas, and that's it.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dina, I'm assuming the Dina that's on is Dina Novak. Am I right? Or is it a different Dina that I see on?
This is Dina Novak. Hi.
Oh, hey.
Hey. Hi. So thanks for having me in the show. And my pieces are carved oils. So what I do is I layer and layer wet oils. And then I start to take my old clay tools and I start to carve and I start to use I carve it out and then repaint it and carve it. So my background is ceramics, and I kind of like to think that I treat my paintings like I treated my clay and glaze. And the work is based on kind of the microcellular level that's going on in my own body. So the work is about my I have a rare disease called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and it's the collagen is formed faulty, and these are actual depictions of my microscopic genetic miscommunication. Even though they look like landscapes, they're the landscapes of the inside of me.
And
Kind of weird.
Is that from, are they actual images you've gotten from lab work, or
no, I make it up. I just all of my they're all like the other one that that they're all basically like these kind of very circular, and I kind of, when I think of them, I kind of like close my eyes and I think of like on a microscopic level what things look like. And you kind of see the same imagery kind of happening with the circles. And even though like I think of these as like peacocks, and that's what they're called, and I really think a deeper level is again keeping going on the same cellular level. And again, I carve out the oils, so I try to treat them. Some of these are like 3 inches thick, like the green one, and this they get really thick.
And do you have to wait for it to dry a little bit so it's more malleable, or you go when it's fully wet?
You know, it's interesting. I think it depends on the piece. The green one I did fully wet. I work on them for weeks until I like get to the till I carve away enough and expose enough. And they do take sometimes 6 months to a year to dry. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a beautiful show.
I have a question. Since I'm a ceramic person, how come you stopped doing ceramics?
Okay. Because one day I decided that I didn't like the feeling of clay on my hands.
Really? It's amazing. I don't like acrylic.
This is oil. I don't do acrylic.
I'm allergic to oil, so
okay.
Yeah. Anyway, I never liked the smell, but I mean that's really bizarre. I mean, I find it because oil to me is so much toxic.
It's not a toxicity. I think for me, I think it was like I did it for a lot of years, and then one day I just said I had gone back from like my undergraduate, it was in oil painting, my master's was in clay, so I would like flip between the two. But once I stopped doing clay, I think it was something about, I don't know, I just couldn't. It was it is strange, and I will admit
time.
I'm a little eccentric, but
I'm a painter who does clays. I'm obsessed with clay. I love it. So, but I love your work. It's fabulous. I love the
Thanks.
oil.
Thanks so much.
Like I said on the chat room, it reminds me of Dubuffet a little.
Yeah. It's kind of a material. I'm obsessed with material, and the idea of these paintings is they're so heavy. They're like 30 pounds, sometimes more. And somebody said to me, it's so interesting that because the way the disease is affecting my body, it's thinning the collagen, and my paintings are getting thicker and thicker. And I almost think I'm like compensating.
I wish you well with that. It's hard.
Thank God. I mean, I'm pretty amazing. So, but it's just where the work is really coming from. They're self-portraits in a way.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they're terrific. Keep going.
Thanks. I plan on it.
I agree with Linda about the reference, but I find your work so upbeat. The palette is upbeat. The shapes. It's so surprising to learn that their source was a disease or a disorder that you're portraying.
Yeah, I mean,
lovely positive spin on it.
I mean, these are the colors that speak to me. Each painting is different, and I kind of I almost say that I little bit go into a zone and start to like just go into this space of like fluidity, and I just start to paint from there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very interesting. Teresa Egan, are you available to speak?
Yeah, hi everyone. So I'm over from the East Coast. I'm a South Jersey based artist. So this little painting is acrylic on a wood canvas panel. And this painting was inspired by last summer. I was like taking a lot of videos of different landscapes in my hometown. And so this monarch painting was based off of like just one day I was recording like all the butterflies in my garden. So with my paintings, I tend to like focus on the color and the brush strokes, and I like to do it in one sitting to keep it kind of fresh and like upbeat. This one is like, I paint with on larger canvases with bigger brushstrokes, more broad brushstrokes. But then I just happened to be working on like a mini series on 4x4x4s, and then yeah, I just saw this opportunity, so I'm so happy to be a part of this show.
It's great. It's a gem. Thanks for being in it.
Thank you.
Any questions for Teresa?
I have a question.
Okay. Yeah.
So I love the color, the way it looks like you captured like the light, but yet at the same time, like the colors are very inventive. And I was wondering, when you paint larger, are they still done in one sitting?
Yeah, actually it's kind of funny because the larger the painting is, the faster I paint it. Because I just tend to make more like spontaneous decisions really fast, and I don't overthink it. And I use like really thick paintbrushes, so like my largest one is 5 inches. But with this smaller series, I kind of got stuck during the pandemic and I wasn't producing a lot of work. So I decided to switch it up and go really small instead of sticking to my larger paintings. So I did get like a little bit more detail oriented with this. So yeah, going back to your questions, I think I probably use like more abstract colors with my larger paintings, and I use probably like larger brush strokes and brushes.
Thank you.
Sure.
Great. Now your neighbor here is Richard Chow. Are you on, Richard?
Hi, I am on.
Great.
Hi, good to see everyone, see some familiar faces, and thank you for including my work. I really enjoyed the opening reception, able to see some friends that I haven't seen for a very long time, so that was kind of fun. So thank you for that. I'm a photographer, and I've shown some work, in the BG gallery before with photography, but this set of photography that you're seeing, at least the 3 of them, are different. They're different in the sense that they are analog photography. I've done digital a lot, and I still enjoy that very much. But this portfolio of work is analog, going back to the darkroom, so to speak. This particular one that you're seeing, it has multiple techniques. These are what they call cameraless photography or alternative photography. So this one is a combination between lumen printing and also cyanotype. Cyanotype is a couple of chemicals that you make together. They're usually ferric iron chemicals, and you mix it together and you paint it on a surface like paper or cloth for that matter, and then you expose it to the sun and it will turn blue. So so the in this particular image, the top portion is painted with cyanotype chemical, and I put also other chemicals in it to make sort of a pattern that is sort of organic, and that's how you know, that's why they're like that, with an organic pattern. I guess it's hard to show on camera, but some of those are yellowish, so there's a different kind of a metallic color to it. So yeah, and then I would ultimately fix it with the darkroom chemical so that it won't change color anymore, so it would be archival. Okay, so yeah, thank you for zooming in. You can see that sort of a metallic sort of a texture on the image. This particular image is made with black and white paper, and the paper is about 20 years old, so they're expired. And with expired paper, sometimes you get sort of very unique results. Some of those results are predictable, but that's part of the fun, is to be able to sort of make art like that. And this is some people call it photo objects, meaning objects that are based in photography. And this is original, one of one. In other words, I couldn't, I can scan it and print it, but that's about it. So this is the original piece of work. And this one I had to do multiple exposures, to expose it to the sun. I would imagine I should write better notes, but this is probably a few hours of exposure. And just let it sit out in the sun with the UV light exposed to it. And then I have to cover the bottom part so that the bottom part doesn't get exposed. That's why they're kind of different color. Yeah. So that's the mechanic of it. But the overall perception I like this to portray to the folks who was looking at it, it's just basically the abstraction of a potential night sky, right? So this one, I call it Starry Night. So that's one of them. I have 4 more.
Richard, before you jump off from that, how did you get the red house and fence in that?
Yeah, that one, this one is a combination of technique. This one I actually printed an existing picture with the house on it at the beginning, and then I paint over it. It was Carl, right? Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
I printed the picture of a house on paper in the dark at night, with all the lights off so that it's not exposed. And then I painted on it with the iron chemical.
So was it just a guess that the printed part of the house and fence would come out the way you wanted it to be printed? Was that part of the serendipity of it?
Yes, there's a lot of that is, like I was saying a little bit, that by chance they might look a little different. As you can tell, I probably have many failed attempts before, but this one came out perfectly, and I really like this image. But I've learned a bit around this technique so that I can control it better now.
Looks good.
Oh, this is very interesting. That didn't work. But anyway, this is, going back to analog, but I do scan them so that I have images of them digitally. All right, this one is a lumen print. In other words, this one has no chemical painted on it. I basically exposed a black and white piece of paper to sunlight, and then I would expose it multiple times, multiple exposures, so that's how you see the little pattern there on the edges. And what you see there are 2 8x10 expired paper from 1999. This is a black and white paper. The way they come up in a different color is a function of the paper itself. So when they make the paper, depending on how the manufacturer, how much silver oxide they put on the surface, and that the fact that it's expired paper, so the color, it's interesting. I will show you another color that is not brown. Thank you, Om. You know exactly where it is. This one, I mounted it differently because this paper is not expired. These are actually current paper. They're matte, very thick fiber paper. made out of cotton. And in terms of exposing it to the sun, I would expose this one about a day, like take 24 hours. I guess it really depends on the UV light. And sometimes you don't know how the color is going to come out until you actually see it, with your eyes, and also go to the dark room and fix it. So this turns out orange, which is amazing. It's a black and white piece of paper, but it came out orange. And I have a few of those. So this is 2 8x10 photographic paper. And this is also one of one, right? Original, both of these. And then the other one too that you saw that are sort of brownish, yeah, they're original. If you look closer, they look different. They're not the same, right? You can tell. I hope you can tell that the edges are different. So they're like they're two different, original paper, and not like a print of the other one. Yeah. So this is the alternative photo object that I'm working on, sort of a little bit different than digital printing. And the last one here, the fourth image here, it's that one is an older piece of work, and this is straight photography, printed on matte paper. This came from my earlier series called Urban Scape. So it's abstraction with architectural details, right? So a lot of abstracts in it. This one, interestingly enough, people have asked me whether this was a charcoal print, a drawing, or ink drawing. The way the lines are, and so on. Instead of a photography, they said, is it a drawing? Because also another interesting aspect of this one is that it's printed on matte paper, so that it's not shiny. It's almost look like watercolor paper. So so that one, I've had people asking me, whether it's a drawing. So that was interesting comment that I always enjoy, hearing.
Richard, how did you get the idea to use expired paper? I'm not a photographer. I didn't know paper expires. Was it an accident, or was it something you were looking for in the expired paper?
Yes, I actually look for them, and they're sometimes hard to find.
Oh, I can imagine.
I found on eBay and had to sort of have them shipped to me. The expired paper give you different fogging and different presentation that is different than what one might expect for the kind of thing that I'm doing, which is abstract work. So I like the expired paper concept because it would give me things that I don't expect, and it's a pleasant surprise most of the time. But I could
How did you predict this?
They don't have to be expired, but yeah.
How did you predict that this would happen with expired paper? Was it accidental finding?
I do a lot of reading, and then they have had a lot of folks have written about them, and I go, wow, this is really cool stuff. And then the other thing, just like what you said, is experimentation. That's part of the fun, sort of going back to the dark room, right, with chemicals and all that good stuff. So yeah, thanks for the question. That was sort of a fallout, I guess, with the pandemic, because I can't go out and shoot, pictures. I could, but then, it's a little different. So I'm at home and, hey, I can make a little dark room, a makeshift dark room that I can play in. So that was sort of one of the reasons I sort of got back into the dark room, because I've done that before years ago, and I sort of missed it. So I'm kind of back doing that kind of thing. Other comments or questions?
I have a question.
Sure.
Hi, everyone. Do you, when you put it outside with the sun, do you put a chemical on it?
No. Okay, well,
Nothing? How do you get that orange triangle?
yeah, that orange became orange is a function of the paper.
Okay.
The black and white paper, when you expose it to the sun like that with the UV light,
Uh-huh.
color, and one would imagine that it would be like gray, but no,
Right.
there's a really strange chemical reaction that happens when you expose it to UV light, and it's the color. Now, what you see here, the Ohm is pointing at, this is
Yeah.
paper. It turns kind of brownish. It's not gray. It's kind of brown, kind of. And then the other one, the other paper that is not expired, it turned orange. I didn't expect orange actually, but it did.
Yeah, that was the one actually I was talking about. That's bizarre that happened.
Yeah. What is amazing is that I have a box of 25.
Uh-huh.
They are mostly orange.
Are they really?
Yeah, because I've
Beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, it give you I like it. I love it actually. It gives you a sense of that color that you don't normally get otherwise, you know?
Yeah, it's really nice.
Thank you so much.
And Dina, I have a question for you. How do you get your oil to dry? I have used oil before and it took almost 2 months for this oil to dry. How do you do it using all that oil? What's your secret? Because I can't figure it out. I don't use oil anymore. I use acrylic.
I don't know if I have a secret. Like I said, a lot of these pieces take 6 months to a year, and I've been told by people who, like a conservation person who that said that ultimately, like for my paintings to truly dry, it will be on the wall inside. It's going to dry over a year or more. I mean, they're fine to frame, but I have to wait a good 5 months to frame them.
I mean, even the oil sticks, I love drawing with the oil, but it takes forever. They don't dry. So what's for me, I can't do that.
Does anyone mind if I chime in? I use this stuff right here sometimes. It's called Japan dryer.
I can't see it. Can you lift it higher?
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
What it does is if you add this to the paint, it'll dry in hours rather than months.
Really?
Yeah. It's Grumbacher Japan dryer.
Wow, I gotta get that. Thank you.
Sure.
Jane Cooper.
Hi. Hi, everyone. I'm sorry. So these are tribal primitive pieces that I created for this gallery. I usually paint on very large canvases. I didn't even know that I could paint on tiny ones. So this is a mixture of acrylic, compound, and ink. And I like to sculpt as well. So I just pour the compound, mix the acrylic and ink, and then I start carving away. And that's basically how I get these. And I use a lot of different ink. I love working with ink. It's one of my favorite things to work with. And they're all unique and they turn out very individually different every single time. So that's what I created on all 4 of these that I made for this gallery. And this is the same thing. And I use a mixture of black and gold and all different colors to get this effect. And a palette knife. That's what I use.
This one turned out more figuratively.
Yeah, this one was a little different. And I do a lot of figurative work too. So this was just an abstract figurative. And I used charcoal, actually. I grated up some charcoal and I sprinkled that in here too. So there's a mixture of the compound ink, acrylic paint, and charcoal on these. These take 24 hours to dry as well. These don't dry quickly. And then this is a series that I've created since the 90s. And this is my sleeping heads. Usually I started out with drawing these androgynous figures. And I have painted them and have been drawing these since the 90s. So I created these for this gallery as well. But I do these on really large pieces. I've sold a lot of these. But my drawings are really colorful. And then the ones that I've painted are real bright and colorful. So they look very different with the black and white.
That's great. I like it when a scene can inspire a new thing for someone. So that's
Thank
cool
you.
to see.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for inviting me in. This was great. It was a really beautiful show.
Thank you. I think that you've covered everyone that's on with us tonight. If I missed anyone, chirp up now. I'll do a final walkthrough of the show and we can call it a night while I'm walking.
Oh,
So,
my cousin Alex.
I know she jumped off the, did she? No, she's here?
I think so. Here she is. She's here. If she wants to talk.
Okay.
Hi, Alice.
Okay, great.
Anyway, I love her work. If she doesn't talk, I will.
But it's under Roberta Booth, right? Or
No, Alice and Roberta are two separate people.
Okay.
One is Alice is here online. She's right here, but she's not talking.
Oh, okay, great. You'll have to remind me which section. Oh, yes.
Here, this is it.
Here's one, yeah, and in the red is there.
Maybe she took off. I don't know.
Oh, she got shy, so you could talk about her work.
I love her work. Sometimes she does huge work, and lately she's been a painter all her life, and she's been drawing with markers now, and it's like collage and a lot of pattern, these small works, and they're lovely. They're lovely. And she's my cousin on my mother's side. We had our grandmothers were sisters. So anyway, on my mother's side. But anyway, she does beautiful, beautiful work. And I'm sorry she's not here right now.
I think she is on, but she doesn't have access to audio. I see her down there, but there's no.
Okay.
There's no. Yeah.
Anyway, I love this piece. Oh, I love when she goes so free and crazy. I love it. I love it. I love she collaged the words, obviously. So she has a blend of markers and I believe acrylic paint. I'm not sure about the acrylic paint, but markers and collage on these. But she also was doing a lot of magnolias for years, and she did flowers, and then she loosened up and started doing this. And years ago, she did gigantic paintings too. So she has a large body of work. But I love this series. It's just so imaginative and fun, and I'm thrilled for her. And I'm so happy she's in the show.
Yay.
And my friend Roberta Booth too. She does beautiful work.
She does. Yeah. These are holograms that done with lasers, and then she photographs the hologram afterwards.
Her work is incredible. She's a character. She can write a screenplay. Anyway, about her life. She was a top model, and she was a top photographer, and then she's got into holography, and now she does photography, and she's very into earth and nature, and Her work is beautiful. Her big work is beautiful too, you know. This is I think a photograph of a hologram.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
Alice has like 2 or 3 pieces and Roberta has 2 or 3, I believe. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, so I'll do the final walkthrough, and anyone who wants to talk with any of the artists, feel free to chat while I'm just doing the final walkthrough. And
There's my piece, Om, right there. You're looking at it. It's a
oh,
saw.
who is this? Oh, David. Is that
Hi, I'm
David?
Nick Jackson. I'm a found object artist.
Hey.
And
Hey.
I made this piece. For a while, I was doing very simple construction, so I would never use more than.
Oh, we lost you, Dave.
Oh no, you lost me. Can you hear me
Yeah,
now?
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I won't take up too much time, but this is hanging here just like a mezuzah by the door on your way out. And it's a found object piece. It's a saw handle and a clear plastic Fresnel lens. And it's called Saw. SAW.
Great.
Thanks for putting it in the show, Om. I appreciate it, buddy.
My pleasure, mate. There's our secret section. There's some light pieces in there. Are you still there, Stephanie?
Still here.
Do you have a favorite color?
I love purple.
Oh, what are the odds? What when I hit the purple section?
These are awesome. Yeah, great job, everyone. Thank you all for participating. This is always incredible to see the transformation of BG Gallery. It's very Keith Haring-like.
Yeah. It's from that. Where is that?
Wow, these are awesome. Yeah, curating the show must have taken a really long time. I mean, there's so many pieces to hang. How did you go about like piecing it all together? Did you have a general idea of what pieces were going to be on certain walls, or did you kind of have to unhang things, rehang them? What was that process?
First we did like a flow by color, and then just kind of flowing through, holding something up, then holding another thing and see if it worked. And then in the early hours where I didn't have anyone to work with me, I put a security camera on that broadcasts to my phone, so I could hold it up and see it from the distance at the same time, and just finished it that way. Yeah. So yeah, that's the show. Thanks, everyone. This will be up on our YouTube, and we'll have continuing things. There's a final reception this Saturday for people that are local. You can search at bgartgalleries.com on the Spectrum page and see things. Click on each section and see all the artworks in it if you're not local. And thanks for joining us, and have a lovely evening. Thanks to Stephania for joining us from Arizona for co-hosting, and thanks Monica for controlling things behind the scenes, and thanks Asha for broadcasting to Instagram. And yeah, have a colorful week, everyone. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.